Y'all, I didn't know that Atlanta had an underground metal scene like this. Welcome, metalheads. I'm the host of Heavy Metal Philosophy and writer for Metal Digest, Jon Barbas. Make sure you stick around to the end of the episode for this week's riff of the week. All right, so longtime subscribers will know that I started doing concert photography last year, and my first ever gig shooting concerts was Rotting Christ, Crack Angren area in Uwata. Talk about being thrown into the deep end. I mean, I knew I was in a privileged position and I definitely appreciated it, starting out with international touring bands. But this weekend really reinforced to me that I totally skipped a step in the ladder here. So let me set it up. I don't live in Atlanta. I am a reclusive hermit that lives deep in the woods in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains, and Atlanta is the closest major market to me. That's where I go to see metal shows, and I drive several hours to get there. So whenever a band that I like announces a tour, the first thing I do is look and see if they have an Atlanta date. And if they do, I mark my calendar and start making plans. Maybe I email their PR people and ask for a press pass. Maybe their PR people are asking me to cover the show. So most of the time, when I'm in Atlanta catching metal shows, it's at small arenas, theaters, or big music venues. I'm talking Phillips Arena, the Eastern, Terminal West, the Tabernacle, the Masquerade. Well, I saw that Horrendous, a band that I am absolutely in love with, was touring with Tomb Mold, and they have an Atlanta date. So I was like, okay, definitely gonna be there for that one. Looked it up, and they're at a place called Boggs Social and Supply Company. So I look it up, and it's a bar. It's a small bar. So I didn't bother asking for a photo pass because there's no barricade. If you Google it and look on the images on their website, there's no barricade between the audience and the stage. It's that kind of bar. So I was like, well, there's no point in getting a photo pass because there's no photo pit to begin with. I just bought a ticket because there's no way I'm not going. I thought about not bringing my camera at all and just enjoying the show. But then I was like, I should have this experience. I should shoot from the crowd. I should shoot these small shows with bad lighting and a small stage. So I took it upon myself to take that challenge. So on the way there, I Googled parking near Boggs Social and started heading in the direction the GPS told me. But when I got there, I noticed that the place has its own parking lot, which is not something I've seen at a venue in Atlanta. I pulled in and I parked for free. I have never gone to a show in Atlanta and not paid for parking. So, a Horrendous concert. Those of you that have been subscribed since at least last year will know that Horrendous Ontological Mysterium was my album of the year last year. So, I went and saw a band that had my album of the year for $20 and half a tank of gas. And Tomb Mold was with them. I cannot believe the value. If you can go see one of your favorite bands for $20 up close in a little venue, do it. God bless the metal underground. So I walk into the bar and immediately I think to myself, where has this place been all of my life? You look on the walls and it's covered in band stickers, and most of those stickers are the illegible death metal, black metal, punk rock sort of logos. I look at the people that are filing into the place, and it's nothing but long hairs with battle vests, chicks with black hair and pale skin. In fact, there was only one person in this bar that was wearing a collared shirt, like a polo shirt, and he stuck out like a sore thumb. Most of the times when I go to a bar, I stick out like a sore thumb. This time, the dude in the collared shirt with the short hair, he was the weirdo. I mean, look at this guy. If you were making a movie and you needed to cast somebody that looks like a metalhead, you would cast this guy. And I just love this. Look at this guy. My man has got on a pair of battle overalls. Not a battle vest. His overalls have patches and studs on them. God bless Southern metalheads. And they had Guinness on tap. Oh, thank you. And they had other local dark beers on tap. Not just light beers, not just the big three beers. And it wasn't just IPAs from the arms race that local breweries are getting into on who can make the hoppiest IPA. Actual good dark beer, battle vests and long hairs everywhere, metal bands on stage. I was home. So the first band up was this band called T-Saurus. I'd not heard of before. They are a local Atlanta band, and they play black metal meets hardcore a little bit, really intense. 6 people in this band, 3 guitar players, a lead singer, a bass player, a drummer. And like I said, it's a small bar with a small stage, so they barely fit on that stage, but they made it work. They immediately cranked up the intensity. They did way more than just warm up the audience. It was like right away, we're getting down to business. This is a metal show and everybody is about to get wrecked. It didn't take them long at all to win the audience over. Probably 2 songs in, I heard somebody in the audience scream, "Damn, y'all are sick." And that's gotta be really the best thing you could hear as an opening act playing before national touring bands. You hear somebody in the audience say something like that, that's got to be super validating. And I'm here to tell you, they deserve that kind of compliment. They were killer. And next up was Horrendous. And I don't need to qualify anymore how excited I was for Horrendous. I've already told you how much I love this band. But I found this part pretty funny. So the band gets up there, they do their sound check. They encounter 1 or 2 little things, they couldn't quite get the levels right, but they finally get it. And they're like, okay, we're ready, play the track. And over the PA, the beginning moments of last year's record, Ontological Mysterium, starts playing over the PA. And so they immediately rush off the stage so that they could enter the stage as the track is playing, like they're playing an arena, when you're playing a big venue and the track is playing and band members slowly start, getting onto the stage and the audience starts cheering because they're seeing the band members. They did that move, but the venue is so small and there's like pretty much no green room. It's like a little closet where everybody had their stuffs. So they kind of just stepped off the stage for a second, and then the band members walked on stage and waved to the audience as the track was playing. They weren't going to let the fact that this is a small venue detract them from doing their rock star moves. But now that I've seen them live, let me tell you, they should act like that. They absolutely played like big rock stars. They had the perfect sound for it. That trad metal, super screamy guitar solos, dual guitar solos, harmonies, proggy, jazz, bass and drums meets death metal sort of sound. It just perfectly, it's the perfect sound for them to do classic rock star moves on stage. When they would do guitar solos, they would lift their guitars way up high in the sky. The bass player was center stage, engaging with the audience, even during the breakdowns. And there was even a bass solo. And for the first time ever at a small show, I saw a bass solo and didn't think, you shouldn't be doing that. There's no need for this. His bass solo was awesome because it wasn't just him slapping and running through scales. It actually had movement to it, and it went with the drums. It rocked. That's the most important thing, is it rocked. So nobody thought probably this is a bass solo. They just thought it was part of the song. That's how you do that sort of thing. And then the guitar players enter again, dual guitar solos, each one of them singing in different voices, fists in the air, headbanging, just big mops of hair all over the place. They leveled that place. The audience was in a frenzy, which was weird because it's such a small room. There's probably a couple hundred people there, but the area in front of the stage is so big. And then directly in front of the stage, past those people are some stairs that go up to another level up, and there was probably 50 to 100 people up there on that next level. So there's no real room for a pit. So I didn't really see a lot of moshing, a little bit of moshing, but pretty much right away people realize like, oh, this isn't going to work. So they're just kind of like frothing about and bumping into each other and just fist pumping because it was just so exciting and so fun. And I don't know, I need to see Horrendous at another venue in another city. They looked like they were having so much fun. I don't know if they have that much fun on stage all the time or if they were seeing the appreciation from this Atlanta crowd and it was making them smile because they just kept looking back at each other with these big smiles on their faces. I was wondering if they were looking at that crowd being like, can you believe this? Or is that just what they do? Do they just have so much fun on stage? I could believe either one because of the energy that they were putting into it. It was a fantastic time. And then Tomb Mold got on stage, and those of you who have been subscribed for a really long time, remember I interviewed Derek for the Dream Unending album that he was a part of, and I was just so blown away with his attitude, his positivity, how wholesome that interview was. I really walked away from that interview feeling better about myself. That's just something that's never happened to me in this whole podcasting game. So when he took the stage, I was wondering what it would look like when he's performing death metal. And he looked really happy to be there, like he was having the best time. I was also really happy to see that my man does not skip leg day. Y'all, you gotta lift. And when you do lift, don't skip leg day. You ain't got to be a big jacked dude. Lift for your own health. And the most important part is leg day. Don't skip it. My man Derek does not skip leg day. He's got the cake to prove it. But he was having such a good time. And it was kind of interesting too because the rest of the band, the bass player was really showing out too, but the rest of the band looked like it was taking every ounce of their concentration to keep this ferocity because, you know, Horrendous is really progressive sounding. It's a lot of space, a lot of sustained notes to create the vibes. Tomb Mold is relentless. It is always notes and drum fills. Every ounce of space is taken up by just an onslaught of death metal coming at you. The guitars are just always hitting notes every single half beat, every 16th note, just 30 seconds all over the place. Scale runs, drum fills, the bass is always moving. And so it looked like the band was just concentrating, like, oh, I got to keep this under control. So Derek's just over there dancing and jumping and smiling. And the other guitar player's like, this is a lot. And it was a lot. I mean, it was so impressive. Like the typical metal dude at a concert where he's standing in front of the stage with his arms folded, sweating the technique. It didn't take long for those arms to unfold and raise to the sky with horns of approval because these guys' chops are unquestionable. Relentless death metal with a bit of jazz influence on the lead work. So all those guitar players that are just sweeping Phrygian mode in the audience were like, oh, right, these guys are really good. And as for me, I gotta tell you, that was super challenging to do photography during all of these sets. Like I said, there's no barricade, there's no photo pit. So the entire time I'm, trying to shimmy in between audience members to get into position. Some of them were really cool. They'd see the camera and be like, oh yeah, get your shot. And other times they were like, they're not worried about what I'm worried about. They're worried about being in position for the show. And I'm inconveniencing them actually, which I'm trying not to do. So, and also the lighting was, terrible. There was no lighting director for me to get upset at for only using red lights. They just turned the lights on and they are what they are. Red lights. Red lights are the hardest to shoot for a multitude of reasons. So we got a lot of black and white shots, which I think actually adds to the underground vibe of what I'm capturing here. And the fact that I could be basically on the stage and take these shots and get shots from behind the band so you can see the kind of audience I'm talking about here, really, these shots really look like a metal scene versus, all my other photography where I'm in a pit, in a big stage. It more looks like, they're up there, we're down here. That's sort of a metal show, which, when I'm going to see Cannibal Corpse, I kind of want that, or Septic Flesh. But these bands were, in the thick of it. At one point, the guitar player in Horrendous actually got in the crowd, which, I've seen several guitar players do at concerts, but it felt a little different at this one because it was so small and it was so packed. This bar was nearly at capacity, and my man just disappeared for a minute. And I was like, how are people not like accidentally having their arm against the strings, muting the strings, creating noise? I don't know. My man's got obviously experience at doing that and control. And suddenly he just reappeared and is back on stage again. And so I thought, okay, well, I got a bunch of close shots, and now I'm going to go to that next level I was telling you about. I climbed up to the next level, and I got a few shots from there, and I was like, okay, I'm going to change positions. And if you get off of that rail on the second level, you cannot see the stage anymore because it's just people. And it just drops off. Now the musicians are below all the people in front of you. No chance of getting any shots. So I didn't get quite as many shots of Tomb Mold as I would have liked, but I like the ones that I did get. So I gotta say, I'm super happy I did this. First of all, just to see Horrendous and Tomb Mold and to discover a new band in T-Saurus was an absolute treat. And if this tour is coming anywhere near you, you should definitely see it. I also need to say that these bands are absolute road dogs, because they played in New Orleans the night before. I don't know if you've ever driven from New Orleans to Atlanta, but to make that in a single day and play a show is pretty incredible. And then the following night, they were in Orlando. Atlanta to Orlando is one hell of a drive. And to also play a show on top of that, that's pretty crazy. So make sure you buy merch. I got me a Horrendous flag, a couple shirts. Stoked. By the way, look at this Horrendous shirt. Look, bands, I can read the logo. You don't always have to do the sticks, man. Sometimes it looks cool to be able to read the logo. Don't have to do it all the time, but sometimes it is nice. It's different. Look, they're standing out just by making their logo legible. So yeah, I got me shirts, flags. Unfortunately, they were sold out of patches, but hey, that's a good thing. I like to hear that things are sold out. Matter of fact, Horrendous has this like black and white baseball, like half long sleeve sort of deal. I wanted real bad. It looks awesome. Sold out in large. So sucks to be me sometimes, but also is really awesome to be me. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy the pictures. I'll also have them up on my website, HeavyMetalPhilosophy.com. Make sure you check out the Best New Metal Albums of the Week episode. And until next time, read philosophy, listen to metal. I love you.